Okay. Okay, so let's share the screen and okay, and cool. So the first part of the lecture, I'm actually gonna just demonstrate, and this has nothing at all to do with the fact that I did not have time to prepare for this. I'm going to demonstrate what you do when you want to contribute to somebody else's code base. So let's actually go, and I did, if you saw in my var temp, I also have I have something, yeah, just an express repo. Should have done that a long time ago. Okay, so this is, Justin gave me a link, but he did not give me permission to contribute to this repo. So the question is, how am I going to get the work that I do today, how am I going to get that to Justin's attention, and then have him merge it in? And this is the process that you use to do this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fork the repo. Where should we fork it? Just to me. All right, so I forked it to Flywrite Sister. And now let's actually go to my account. Okay, and let's look at my repositories. And notice, I knew right away, I didn't know what the name was. I didn't remember what the name was, but I knew right away that this was it because it has this little fork icon next to it. So here is Lectures in Live Coding. And really the one that I'm interested in is the Express server. But now I have my own, this is my own version. And any changes I make to this really duplicated the repository. And now I'm working with a duplicated repository. And then any changes I make to this, I'm going to have to commit. And then I am going to make a pull request to Justin so that he looks at my code and he incorporates it into his. And when you fork, then now all of a sudden I have like an upstream, and if Justin and I were working on these at the same time, then I would have to start doing rebasing, take any changes that Justin or anybody else that Justin was working with, any changes that they made, and make sure that I get them on my fork, right, before, and so that I know what's going on before I commit and push my changes. So, but yeah, so this forking system is a way that I can work with the code on my own and I can get updates, but I don't have access. I cannot push directly to Justin's repo. And this is good for open source repos because you don't want just anybody to be able to just push to the repo. So if you were to work on an open source project, this is the type of thing that you'd be doing. Okay, so now how do I get this onto my computer? Why, hello, Sal. I clone it. So I'm going to just copy this. And then if I just do CD with nothing after it, where does that put me? Home directory. And I'm just going to clone it here. And it makes a new directory called Lectures in Live Coding. It took me a long time before I didn't make a new directory and then clone into the new directory, because you make a new directory and then if you clone into that, it makes another new directory in your new directory. And yeah, all right, so here I am. Okay, and what I really want to do is I want to atom this one here. Whoops. Okay, so now, again, this has nothing to do with me not being prepared and everything to do with me showing you what to do when you're looking at a new repo. Thank you, Jen. So let's take a look at what's actually going on here. Why? Okay. What's that? npm install. I have to run an npm install in order to get whatever has been saved into the package.json. And oh my goodness, there's a readme. Before I do anything, I should look at the readme. That's what readmes are for. Okay, so how does one connect an Express server with a SQL database? An example of testing, middleware, how to use body parser. What do you, oh, right. And so this is, I think he was collecting things from you. This is in a, I don't know if I want to call it a language, but it's in a syntax called Markdown. That's what the .md means. And so this will, like, I think, make checkboxes if you look at it in Markdown. And GitHub conveniently will interpret Markdown for you. And actually, if you have a README, it'll just automatically, like, put the README Markdown down here. You don't even have to click on it. So yeah, so that makes checkboxes, although apparently they're not checkable here. And then if I wanted to see this not in interpreted Markdown, let's see, I'd have to go into here. Here it does the interpreted Markdown. Still can't check the checkboxes. But if I want to see, what it looks like, what the code looks like, I click on that raw, and it'll show it to me non-Markdown. Okay. All right, questions Justin's looking into. Here's the notes on the Wednesday live coding, on the Friday live coding. Okay, and so I'm going to have to do one about today's live coding, clearly. Okay. Okay, cool. So, okay, so now I have an idea of what this is. And it does not tell me that I need to do an npm install, but often the README will tell you what you need to do to start on this project. And npm install is what I need to do here. Okay, so npm install is taking everything that's in this package.json, and it's installing body parser and Express. And I see that that he is using Nodemon here. He pronounces it Nodemon? How does it Nodemon? Not Nodemon? No? Okay, all right, fine. All right, Nodemon. I mean, to me, it looks like a combination between Node and Daemon. Yeah, and so I think Daemon deserves its own set of syllables, but apparently I've been overruled on that. Okay. Okay, cool. So we've installed, and that's good. So now let's see whether we have, whether our server is looking better. Oh no, this is just a general ESLint, like it's complaining about ESLint. I'm not going to worry about that for now. Okay, so, all right, so we're requiring Express and body parser. We're creating a new Express app. And then that app has methods. So we want to use the app.use bodyparser.json. So what is this bodyparser.json doing? The body of the post request. And what is the .json? It parses the ones that are marked as content type JSON. They have headers that are the content type JSON. Okay. And so here we've got an app.get. So app.get is not using that body parser, right? There is no body of a GET request. GET requests don't get bodies. But we are using, so what does this colon word mean? It means it's going to be a variable in our URL. So it's not going to be literally the path /repeat/colon word. It's going to be /repeat, and then we're going to take whatever is after the slash and interpret that. We're going to make that a key in this request.params, and the key is going to be word, and whatever the value is whatever the person put in. Okay, and then you send back text with word, whatever. Okay. Here is where we're using the body parser with the request.body. And fine, we're just sending AB. Currently Justin is, he's calling it weave. Nice, okay. Okay. Can somebody explain this line to me, line 27?
So we're saying that the port that we're going to be listening for is either 3000 or it's whatever you have your port set to your process environment variable port set to.
Well, how does it know which one? Oh, actually not. So this or stuff, let's just play around with this for just a minute. If I say, I'm going to just go into Node, and if I say A equals 0 or 3, what is A going to be? There's nothing to be, there's no process end here. It's just 0 or 3. What's it going to be? Is it going to be 0 or is it going to be 3? Yeah, it is going to be 3 because if the first thing evaluates to false, it is going to set it to be the second thing. Okay, so I can also say A equals undefined or 3, it's going to be 3. But if I say A equals 4 or 3, then A turns out to be 4. So this or is sort of shorthand. If what's before the or is truthy, set it to that. Otherwise, set it to what's after the or. So here, if process.m.port is defined, we'll set it to whatever process.m.port is. But if it's not, then we'll set it to 3000. What determines whether process.m.port is defined? How do I define it? What's that? It's an environment variable. It's a shell environment variable. Here I am in my shell. How can I tell whether or not I have a port defined here? Like this? You have to put an echo. I don't. It's not defined. I don't think, if I just do this, I know shell is defined. Yeah, it tries to run it as a command, and so that's what just actually happened. So, yeah, or you can also do an env, which shows you all of your environment variables, and you can grep for port. It's another thing that I often do, especially if there's like, I don't know, case insensitive. Do I have anything involving node? No. Do I have anything involving port? No. So I just that's a way that I kind of just look at my environment. Okay, so but right now, process.m.port, what is that actually going to, what is process.m.port going to return? Undefined, something falsy. it's gonna be undefined. That's what happens when you ask for keys and objects that aren't defined. Yeah, you get undefined. So falsy. So we're gonna get 3,000. And then finally, we do app.listen. Okay, cool. All right, great. Any questions on any of this? Jedi's chomping at the bit to get to new material. Okay, so I'm going to give you two options for what we're going to do next. One is going to be to connect the Express server with a SQL database, and the other is going to be to make a REST API. Which would you prefer? SQL? Anybody else have any votes? Jedi said, okay, all right. Jedi's amenable to SQL anyway. Okay. All right, cool. So let's say, all right, so let's think about this. This is back to Miles's question about, like, you know, how we, let's think about actually what we're going to do. So let's say we're going to have a database, and let's just say the database is going to have like, maybe let's just do contacts just for ease. So let's go to our let's make a database of contacts. So let's make a new file, and I'm going to say database.sql. And I am going to, so let's actually make some tables. So, and let's just make one table because this isn't a lecture about SQL. So we're just going to create table. Let's call it contacts. And then if I haven't mentioned this before, I'll mention it now, or I'll mention it again. I do not have creating tables at my fingertips. And the reason is, if you are working on a production server, creating tables is not something that you do, right? You know, it's like creating tables happens once when the company starts, and then nobody creates tables, and then it's all just queries, right? So that's why I always have to look up syntax to create tables, because it's just not something that I have in my fingertips. It's just not something that I've done professionally. So SQL create table. Okay, so right, so we do column name, data type, and so forth. So let's do our column name will be first name, and our data type will be text, last name, text, and phone number. Let's make that one text also, just for now. Yeah, I think I want to leave that text. Okay, fine. So here we have a table. How do we get that table into a database? What? You don't know? Okay, cool. Create the database. How do you create a database? And I'm just going to call it contacts. Okay, great. Now I'm going to pSQL contacts, and I'm going to give it as input that database file. So that database file is okay, so I'm giving it that database file as input. Great, it created the table. That's awesome. I'm going to go into contacts and okay, no surprise there. Cool. Okay, so now we've got some stuff on the back end. That's great. Now, now we got to think about our routes. What are our routes going to look like? Yeah, so I think we'll have enough time for this, but we can start with a URL that simply displays our contacts. Shall we do that? Okay. So all right, and I am actually now, I'm going to, if we're going to start with a URL that displays all the contacts, I want to make a bunch of contacts. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to, make a directory called database because now I can have more than one file and I want to contain them. So I'm going to move the database.sql into database. And now I'm going to attach database.seed.sql, just data that I want to put in there at first. I want to seed my database with this SQL. Okay. And so what I'm going to do there, oh, and actually, but now that I, okay, so I actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I was bad when I made my database, when I made my table. What does this table lack that most tables should have? A primary key. You guys let me go that far without a primary key. Okay, so I'm going to call it contact ID. This one I'm going to make serial. What does the serial mean? Auto increments. Okay. So now I'm gonna, this by the way is just a bunch of SQL commands. So I'm gonna do drop all. I think I can do that. Let's nope. Okay, so this is where I'm going to look SQL drop all tables. Yeah, not that. Okay. Drop table contacts. Okay. So I want to drop the table if it already exists, and then I need to recreate it because you can't just add a column to an existing table like this. You have to do a lot of work to add a column to an existing table, and because my table had no data in it anyway, I'm just going to drop it and create it again. Okay, so now let's okay. Oh, yeah, now I need to put my database in here. Still nothing? Oh, because where am I? Okay. Okay, it dropped the table and it created the table again. And now if I go back in and I select star from contacts, Okay, now at least I have a primary key. Okay, so now let's go to my seed data, and I am going to do a bunch of inserts. So I'm going to insert into contacts. Then I have to give it what? Yeah, but I actually don't want to give it the contact ID. I want it to do that one automatically. So I'm actually going to give it the column names. And then I'm going to say, and I can do this over and over. Oh, well, that's a little annoying. Okay. All right. So let's do. What's your last name, Jedi? Well, I'm just going to make up last names. In fact, I think you all are going to be the last family.
Do you have to have the insert statement for every entry?
Yes. Is there a way to bulk insert? Good question. Let's check and see. I also have not done a lot of inserting. Like mostly what I do, it has been querying, like getting data out. Bulk insert. Microsoft, Microsoft, Microsoft. Oh, okay. There we go. Good question. Okay. And I didn't have values, which was going to be a problem too. Okay. Okay, and just do Jack. And Jack, everybody else is going to share James's phone number. So you guys are close family that way. Jen, do you do 2 N's or 1? Cool. Okay. And then we're going to have to take, I guess, do they have commas there? Yeah. Okay. How are you guys doing with the keyboard shortcuts? Have you reached Jared levels of keyboard shortcut mastery? No? Okay. Okay, so now if I want this to happen, if I want to run all of these in my contacts database, I can do like this. It inserted. That 6 is a good sign. Let's go back to all right, cool. Okay. All right, and now the nice thing is that rather than just doing these straight in the console, now I have these in files. And so if I need to redo anything, they're there. It's very easy. All right, cool. So now that we've done the groundwork, so what shall we call our route? Let's see. So first we need to decide, is it going to be a get or a post or something else if we're displaying all of the contacts? I'd say a get. We're just getting information. No side effects on the server at all. And what should we call it? What should we call this route? I'm going to call it contacts. And the reason I'm going to do this is because I actually want to start building, and I'm actually, Jedi, doing a little RESTful API stuff here. I want to start building URLs. So if I do contacts with nothing, it's going to return all of the contacts. But if I do contacts/add, then it's going to add a contact. Or if I do contact/remove, then it's going to remove a contact. Although now that I'm thinking about it, I actually might do all of this with verbs. But if we do contacts and an ID, that's probably what we're going to want to do. Okay, so I have ideas, but for now we're just going to do contacts. And okay, good. So we have app.getContacts. Then the next argument is what? What data type? A function that is going to, and it's going to be a callback. So we're going to have the request and the response. Okay, cool. So first we have to get those contacts. All right, so let's get the contacts. Shall we use PG promise? Let's do it. All right, so let's get out of here. Or as a matter of fact, maybe I will split this. You can see how, Command D, split pane. Okay, so now, wait, I've split the pane, but okay. Well, how do I get to the other pane? No, you guys probably all use like iTerm. How do you get to the other pane? I tried. Still in the bottom one. Okay, I'm going to do. I was trying to be slick, but I am not, clearly. So I'm actually just going to have two windows that are side by side, and okay, so now why did I go back here? Like the person who went into the other room, but I actually do know why I went back here. Right, in order to use PG promise, yeah. Yes, PG promise works with promises instead of callbacks. Okay, so cool. So now I can use PG promise, and I am not a PG promise frequent user yet because I'm still in phase 1 and we don't do that in phase 1. So let's look up how to use PG promise. As I recall, PG promise has very, very poor documentation, but good learn by examples. So, all right. So I don't want that. I actually want the setup. Yeah, help me out here, James. Thank you.
So I know that you after you require it, you say PGP,
Yeah.
PG promise. Then yeah, this is the page.
This is the page. Okay.
Scroll down a little bit. So you create a connection object, and then
Okay. So we're not going to use initialization objects because we're not there yet. So fine. So now we have PGP. And so if at some point, Justin will probably refactor this. And he will refactor by putting the routes in their own in their own file. And he will also refactor by putting all of the database stuff in its own file. Should we start by putting the database stuff in its own file? What do you think? I'd say so. That would make me feel more organized. So let's put the database stuff in its own file. Thank you. So let's actually put it in the database directory. Why not? So I'll put a new file, and I'm going to call it database utilities.js. Okay, so here now, this is where I'm going to do all my database stuff. And all right. So here now, I need to have a connection string. And my connection string is going to be Postgres, is that right? / localhost port 5432 and contacts. We'll see whether or not that works. I'd say I'm 90% confident, but that'll be okay. Yes. Postgres is on 5432 unless you change it. Eventually, I am going to, or Justin probably because of time, but eventually what Justin will do is he will make this kind of like what you did with the port, make this changeable with an environment variable so you use a different database if you're testing. But for now, I'm just going to leave it. Okay, and so, great. So now, okay, so now let's go back into the queries. Okay, so here's a query. And I don't think going to use any values for now. And we're not going to use a mask. And so we'll do query. Now I just really want his example thing. So let's go back and get that. Simple select, perfect. Okay, so we're going to select star from users. No, we're basically just going to select star from contacts. And there's not going to be no values that we're substituting here. So then we're going to do on success. We are going to whatever. Okay, so I'm just going to console log this data for now. That's all I'm going to do on success. And then on error, I'm just going to say for now, just to sort of get the lay of the land here. And let's make this a function. So okay. Go away. And then I'm going to we can export it. So and then there was one other thing that I wanted to do, but I'm not thinking of it right now. So okay. Okay, so let's just play around with this and see how it goes. and get the kinks worked out. So now I'm gonna do a node, and I'm gonna require, I'm gonna say get all contacts, require database, what did I do wrong? I don't think so. Database utilities. Yeah. Oh, get out of here. Okay, so that exists. And so I'm not sure why this is giving me, I guess perhaps I can't do that. So, okay, so fine. So I'm going to just run get all contacts here, and we'll just run this file. It's not really what I wanted to do, but okay. Well, good. Oh, I know that's what I forgot. Okay, so that's cool. It did something. Go us. All right. So it gave us all of our contacts. The contacts is an array of objects. So did you notice how it didn't give me the prompt back? What do I need, Jedi? I need to close the connection. Otherwise, it just times out and then finally gives me my prompt back. But what I really want is to, yeah, so yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I did a PG db dot end so that, oh, thank you. So that it closes it right away. Okay, so cool. And actually, I want to put this in its own function. So I'm going to say const close connection. This way I can close it from my server if I need to, if I want to. But since the server kind of runs until you hit Command C, you know, like it's probably okay. But just in case. Okay, so get all contacts is good stuff. It's returning my it's doing what I want. However, how do I get the information from get all contacts into the server? How do I get it here? Yeah, so what I'm actually going to do is instead of doing my then and my catch here, I'm actually just going to return this db any. And what data type am I returning here? What did you say, James? It's not an array and it's not JSON. It's a promise. I am returning a promise here. So now what I do here is I say get all contacts, which I haven't imported yet, which is a problem. So let's do that up here. So get all contacts. I'm going to run it, and then I do my dot then here. And I can do whatever I want with my data. So, and then I can do a dot catch here. Okay, so fine. So now I have this get all contacts dot then data, and let's say that here I want to return JSON. I'm going to return JSON here because eventually Justin is going to continue this and make it a REST API. So great. So I need to do a couple of things to return the JSON. First of all, I want to indicate that the response is JSON. Do you know how to do that? No, neither do I. Okay, hold on. So express set content type. Yeah, that's fine. Express set content type is all we need. Okay, so here, look, we didn't even have to click on anything. res.setHeader, content type, and we don't want text JavaScript, we want application/JSON. So we'll do res.setHeader, content type, application, JSON. I think it might be lowercase. And let's actually do that up here. So we'll, regardless of whether we do the then or the catch, we'll return JSON. Okay, so, all right, so, and here.
So what exactly is that line?
This set header?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know how much you guys have talked about requests and responses, but both of them have headers. The request is what the server receives, and the response is what it gives back to the browser. Both of them have headers to tell the receiving party what to expect. So if I tell you I'm giving you JSON, then you're going to expect it to be JSON, and you're going to be upset if it's not valid JSON, right? So if I'm telling the browser, and browsers have different rules with what to do with JSON. Some browsers by default will just download it if it's JSON. But basically you're telling the browser, I'm about to send you JSON.
But that doesn't actually do anything to what you're sending.
No, it's just an additional piece of information along with what you're sending. And then I can do a send JSON.stringify of the data. You can also, now that I'm remembering, you can also do a res.json, and that includes the header automatically. Either way. Okay. And then if it's an error, let's do res.send. We want to send JSON, so we'll do JSON.stringify. And we'll just say message. And error occurred. And then okay, cool. All right, questions on any of this?
I got a question that related.
Yeah.
say we didn't want to send it back to JSON. Say we wanted to get this information from the database and then present it on a website and like unordered list.
Yeah.
How would we go about it? Go to a bunch of list items.
So you can send like just a string of HTML, right? You can just make this HTML string and just send it, and and it'll send it. That's the naive way to do it. Eventually, you are going to start using templates. And what you will do is you will send that data to a template. And in that template, you'll have a for loop. And it'll say, for each item in this, I want to make an unordered list, or I want to make a table row for each item. And it's going to take all of that out of the item. So that's just general HTML templating, which I'm pretty sure is part of phase 2, right? Yeah. So that's the way you would do it if you weren't doing it in JSON. Okay. So let's go back to here, and let's actually start the server. I'd say there is a 40% chance I'm going to get some sort of syntax error. But I can just say npm start. App crashed. Okay. Oh, I did JSON stringify on something that was not an object. It was just a weird, like, yeah. So let's try again. Let's make this an object. Okay. I think that's good. Oops. I don't know if that made it more readable. I don't think it did. But okay. Oh, look. NodeMon. Notice 2 syllables. NodeMon restarted for me. Thanks, NodeMon. And okay, so now I can just go to a browser, localhost 3000, contacts, see what happens. Glory be in the saints be praised. All right, it gave me my JSON. And I can check and see whether this had the header of type JSON by going into my developer tools, and let's look and see what I want. I think network will tell me what I need. You always, when you do network, you always have to refresh. Okay, so it had a status. Oh, and the type here. Come on. Oh, the type was just document, so it might not have gotten my left click on this. Yeah. Oh, left. Okay. Headers. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, well, no, it doesn't look like it actually, put in my content type header. And I'm not entirely sure why. Let's just see if we do JSON here, whether it will actually, whether it'll give us the header. So let's, I like to use this empty cache and hard reload when I don't want it to cache. There we go, content type application JSON. Was that there before and I was just not looking in the right place? Me neither. It was. I was just not looking in the right place. Okay. All right.
One of the benchmarks that asks you to send back some JSON to the browser, and in the example, it's formatted a certain way. And the only formatting I figured I had to do is when you JSON.parse, there's a third argument. You can say specify the amount of spacing. but mine kept coming out like each key value there was its own line. And the example on the guild curriculum, they were all on one line.
Ah, okay. So, okay, so Theo's asking a question about JSON formatting. And so I do want, I'm not going to answer your question, basically because I don't know the answer and we're out of time. But I do want to say that there are two differences between res.send and res.json. One is if you do the JSON, it puts the header in automatically and you don't have to do the header. And the other is that it will obey some formatting. Like, and you'll have to look up like how it what type of formatting you can give it. I don't think I'm answering your question. In fact, I'm pretty sure I'm not, because if you couldn't format it with, you know, the stuff that you were doing with the JSON.stringify before, then you're still going to have the question, how do I format it like the other thing? And I mean, that's something that I would just have to look around at. I don't know the answer, but I do want to say that those are the two differences between send and JSON. One is that it includes the header without you having to do it. And the other is that you can give it, if you have some formatting in place, it will format it the way that you have configured. So, okay, cool. All right, thanks everybody. Have a good afternoon. I think Justin will be in this afternoon. Oh, let's see. Hold on. Somebody, like, poor people were trying to chat me. Oh. Okay, thanks.